Welcome to Fast Break, an African-based basketball podcast where we have entertaining, thought-provoking, and unfiltered conversations on the game and culture of basketball.
Sanbonan Dumelang, welcome to another Fast Break podcast. We've got an action-packed podcast lined up for you today. We're keeping things extremely local. We're talking BNL, we're talking WBNL. My name is Lebesa Slepe. I'm joined by Emmanuel Shine and Sandy Leshangase, the Laker.
Shine, you gotta get back to the roots, man. It's not Shine, it's Shine.
Shine bright like a diamond. That's what you said, I must say.
Never change.
I mean, let's jump back. Let's jump straight into it, fellas. We're going to talk women's basketball to start off. WBNL. We have the playoffs are coming up this weekend, and it's grudge matches, it's rematches, there's everything to play for. We start off. Let's take a look at a replay of last year's final. Igoli Magic taking on Western Cape Mountaineers. Shine, I mean, this one needs no introduction. It needs no fireworks. We've got all the big names going for this one.
I think, first of all, before we actually even mention that matchup, I personally used to have an issue with how stats were recorded, especially when it came to assists. Then I saw that Dr. Corinne Musi had a 30-point triple-double in the WBNL. That is insane. First of all,
Shout out
on any level. 30-point triple-double, and she had it. Man, look, in 40 minutes of basketball, men play 48 minutes in the other league and still can't get it. Now, she's done that in 40 minutes. That Western Cape Mountaineers team is just very well oiled, and they're here to defend their championship. But, I mean, that Igoli Magic team is going to be fire because you obviously know Mudiechi. Oh, man.
Grudge match. Coming back. I love it. That is the basketball story. From not making a team and saying, you know what, I'm out here on ball. I'm gonna show you that you guys playing. I'm about it. That is so dope. I mean, that she gets to showcase how good she was, and she's been doing it throughout. And
for years,
I think just because of this chip, because now she's balling with a chip on the shoulder. I'm like, I think they might go all the way. And I'm not saying that because this is my guy.
Well, all the way.
If we're going to look at this one, the Western Cape Mountaineers are a fast team. These ladies play action-packed basketball, full-court pressure. They've got Dineo Fanampe, they've got Lerato Ngakani, they've got Dr. Buckets, Corinne Musi, Buisa Kwangwa. These ladies showed us last year that they play basketball at a tempo that makes it difficult for their oppositions to keep up. So as much as I want to think that Igoli Magic are going to come through with it and agree with you, Shaz, I want you to accept the fact that it is not going to be easy.
I agree with you. It's not, but here's my thing. To play at a fast tempo for that duration is going to be difficult, So,
exactly.
Yes, they've done it before. But now when they stop that fast tempo, do they have anything else to offer? And I do think Igoli is going to find a way to slow that grind down. And Mike, I'm curious to see in the half court what happens because they've really never been truly tested at that level at the half court. So I'm interested. I back Igoli.
Well, they have been. This season, they proved it when they played against Tshwane Suns. The Tshwane Suns were able to slow them down and eventually beat Western Cape Mountaineers. So the formula has already been proven. Someone just needs to follow through with it. Let's see. I mean, and Igoli Magic they have the team to obviously compete against them. I can't stress this enough, but I haven't seen many basketball players who have just blown me away. Corinne Musi is one of them. Dr. Corinne Musi is one of them. But so is Mudiechi. So, and I mean, I'm obviously upset that she left my beloved Tshwane Suns to go to Igoli Magic, but, maybe a finals matchup.
Just hold that. Continue with your life, Shine.
Okay, now talking about your beloved Tshwane Suns, they're going to be taking on Limpopo Pride. The Tshwane Suns that is now without Mudiechi Mukoka, but have acquired the services of Zintle Mtabani. So
exactly,
I think they got stronger. But Limpopo Pride, I mean, they've got Lufulu Muntungu, who's a walking, talking 2020. Because she borders the 2020 with those 17 rebounds, 16 points. She's just about there.
Those are unreal numbers, first of all. I must just put it out there.
Crazy numbers.
You know, I was at Tux the other day training on a Friday afternoon, late afternoon, and she was there. Lufuna was there training with Lauren, and they had a coach out there, cones for them, running through drills, perfecting their game. And that type of stuff is inspiring to watch because I can promise you, the opposition is not doing that on a Friday afternoon. And how do you beat that? When already she's a 16 and 17. Now, the stage is set, the lights are bright. Obviously, she's going to show up and show out, you know. But just on that also, you can't deny the legend of Pumla Satula. Like, that is basketball royalty. Like, she's not aging. She knows how to control the game. She's just that good. So, for me, obviously, as a Twana Suns fan, you know, as a Twana Suns diehard, I'm always rooting for my ladies, and maybe we can make up for what we missed out on last year and come back and win this. But I think the matchup between Twana Suns and Limpopo Pride will be an electric one.
Yeah, that's blockbuster then. That's real blockbuster.
Because also Lauren Fredericks left Twana Suns, and now she's playing for Limpopo Pride, and then they're matching up again in the semi. So that's going to be a hot one. But you know, my predictions stay the same. I do think we're going to see a Twana Suns and the Goalie Magic final. You know.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What do you think Limpopo Pride has to do to come out with the victory? Because, I mean, they seemingly are the underdogs.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to have to do if they are going to come out with a victory?
To be honest, they need to go hard at Twana Suns because to stop, like you mentioned, Zintle, Pumla, Josephina, Josie, all of them, they have to push the tempo really fast on offense, but also make sure that they deny the fast breaks. But also, Twana Suns knows really well how to play on the inside. So I don't think they have answers necessarily, but I think it might come down to individual brilliance.
Box out. Basics of basketball. Let the ball hit the ground and you box out.
And the Mountaineers? Okay, sorry, Shaz.
Nah, they don't stand a chance.
Come on, Shaz. That's unfair.
I'm not going to give you any analysis on that one.
Okay.
I think they do stand a chance. The Mountaineers, like you mentioned, need to learn how to continue playing the fast-paced game, but it's also very hard to play a fast-paced game when you're playing against arguably the fastest woman player of all time in South Africa. And that team is just very rejuvenated. They've got a lot of young players, especially coming from the VUT program, who we know obviously defending USA champions again. So I think what's going to be key for Western Cape Mountaineers is, like Shai said, play the half-court game. If they can just learn how to play that half-court game, man, they could do a lot of damage to stop the Goalie Magic. And the Goalie Magic won't necessarily have answers for them. And box out and just run back on defense, man. Those are key for me. But these coaches have it all figured out. I'm just excited. 10 a.m. on Sunday, I'm already glued to my TV.
so okay, here's what I want you guys to predict. The first game, the Goalie Magic versus Western Cape Mountaineers. Who do you think is going to be the player of the game?
That's tough.
If the goalie wins?
I mean, you already, just play of the game. Play of the game.
Look,
I think, go ahead, Sean.
I think player of the game will be Corinne Musi, but her team might not be successful, might not be victorious, so it won't be her. But the MVP will ultimately go to Modia. You know what, actually? I take it back. Western Cape Mountaineers will win this. Dr. Corinne Musi will be MVP. Maybe even give us another triple-double.
Can I be honest with you? I thought about that earlier. I think it's just going to be an overall team game, man. And which is wild to say. It's the most basketball thing to say. But there's a lot of boxing. There's a lot of boxing out that's going to be happening in this game. There's it's going to be guys. You know the stars. People already know before we have this conversation that we got to go match up that guy. We got to go match up, and it's going to be. I'm curious to see who the X factors are going to be because this is going to be a game one of X factors. And off the number 6 off the bench, whoever they decide we back in. So I'm pointing at a real X factor semis, both sides. So yeah, and it's not gonna be.
I know you want to stay with the because you're the goalie.
It's here, bro. It's on the tip of his tongue.
Can I tell you why they're going to D her up hardest? So it's.
But
going
that's not
to
the to her.
No, that's going to be something different. No, the doubles are coming all day. The doubles are coming. So it's going to be open players. Can you make your shots? And I think it's going to be somebody else. And by next week, we'll be saying this is the person that picked up the slack for everybody else, because it's going to be a defensive nightmare. You've already said you already said that the coaches know exactly who the stars are going to shine. If we can stop fast breaks and we can stop this star player, somebody else is going to have to do the work. So it's going to be interesting.
Limpopo Pride Tshwane Suns player of the game.
My captain, Pumla Satula.
Okay.
I hate to say it, it's definitely going to be Pumla. I mean, you can't stop it. The other game I had a lot of analytics.
Not about
that. Yeah, not exactly. That one, and also just dominate from beginning to end. You'll let me know what the stat line is at the end of the game. It's going to be. Yeah, just too dominant.
But Slippy, you're not telling us who you think is taking the other finals, semi-finals.
So I have Mudiegi.
Okay.
Game MVP for their game, and then I've got Lufuno, game MVP. I have a Limpopo Pride and Igoli Magic final. That's just my gut feeling. Just my gut feeling.
I mean, you're not many days away from seeing that, so
100%.
I don't know, man. I like an element of surprise, but not at the cost of Tshwane Suns. That's just.
I actually have Tshwane Suns losing because I just wanted to poke one at you.
Guys, please. It's too early in the show. We still got another segment.
No, it's okay. That segment is going to be more poking.
Yeah. Okay, but let's cross the gender line. Let's cross the gender line and look at BNL. A matchup we have is Tshwane Suns. They'll be taking on Mpumalanga Rhinos. There's been rumors. There's been corridor talk. There is a very good friend of mine, Gagiso Mwechana, who retired from basketball. But I'm hearing in basketball corridors that the chief has come out of retirement to assist Tshwane Suns in the playoffs. Whether or not that's true, I guess we're going to find out on Sunday. And another rumor from Mpumalanga Rhinos is that Tlogitolo is coming back into the BNL alongside Thabo Setole, and they'll be playing for Mpumalanga Rhinos. So, I mean, a star-studded affair has become even more star-studded. And I mean, if I have to just go on a whim and win on this one, I think, you know what? First of all, I want to send a shout out to Tshwane Suns. The reason why is because those guys have been working hard.
I love where
I know. No, hear me out. I know my boys have been working hard because I've been training with them. We had our scrimmages at Norwood from as early as the end of January. We're training, and I could see that the guys came into the preseason out of the off-season well conditioned, well prepared. They've shown their class in the BNL. They're well coached, and they've added Marcus Mukwena. I think he's injured. He may not be there to assist them in the playoffs. I don't know. These are all rumors, and I'm trying to toe the line between being an opposition and a panelist right now. So
we would like you to come weigh in on this on the medical staff and say this one is tentative, probable, day to day.
Everybody DNP till the day before. We don't know what.
But I think Tshwane Suns have done enough to go through Mpumalanga Rhinos with their additions and earn themselves a trip in the final. That's just my prediction. I mean, Shine is one of the top leaders, one of the top rebounders in the league. Kanya may not shooting the ball as well as he shot it last year, but they just keep on throwing guys. They've added TV Makhalimele to their roster. Briley Clausen is playing good basketball. Bello's playing good basketball. They've got Glenn Akulu. They've got Josias Bantalega. I know this sounds like a scouting report, but maybe it is.
Definitely a scouting report. That is a scouting report.
I look at them pound for pound, and I just can't make sense of how Mpumalanga Rhinos will go past them. I see Coach Clement Koch coming up with a plan for Nathan and just managing to slow him down. If I'm not mistaken, Kwazulu-Natal is going to be in China for the World Student Games, so that's -1 shooter to worry about on the Mpumalanga Rhinos side. for Tshwane Suns. So I mean, and they've added Chief onto their roster, so that's just IQ. That's brains. I don't know what condition Chief is in, but
what you trying to say,
he's coming out of retirement. I'm assuming that's what you mean.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know his game shape. I don't know. He's got one game to figure it out and get it right. But I mean, he's coming into a team that's already firing from all cylinders. So I think Tshwane Suns got this one.
I mean, so the thing is, with a guy like Chief, like you mentioned, Chief is so talented. I think he can fit into any team, seamlessly. For me, I'm not saying he's coming back or he's not coming back, but whenever I get an opportunity to play with him, hey man, I'm not complaining because at least 5 assists from him. That's what I know. The additions of the Mpumalanga Rhinos are massive additions. I mean, you're talking national team, guys who've played in the BNL, guys who've played at Afro Basket. Thabo Sithole, obviously, we have our runnings from way back in high school also. Tlogi. What might work to the advantage, obviously, is having these guys. But the other thing is how much time do they have to fit in these two really dominant players into a roster like the one they had? I mean, for sure, they already elevate as a team, but then is it going to be... I'm interested to see what Coach Tutu is going to do, integrate them into the play of the team or make it about them, because you also can't have these two guys and not make it about them. I don't see many teams where these guys can walk into and it's not about them, But as for the Tshwane Suns, obviously we've had our preparation. Slipper, you mentioned how we've been training since late January. In fact, we didn't stop after winning the BNL last year. We carried on training throughout. Even in December, we were training, and throughout this whole time. And additions, obviously, like you mentioned, TB, Briley, those two, and Khotso Ntwane. He's got that dog in him. Shout out to you for slipping up on this one, but he's got that dog in him, and he's going to bring the championship pedigree like he already has. I mean, the team is very well oiled. I mean, having won Ashraf together, having played this many number of games, it's going to come down to whoever wants it the most on the day. But I trust what the Sons of Pretoria are doing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I just hope it's not a blowout again. I've been complaining about my blowouts. you both each ruined like a couple of games of basketball. I'll go into that a bit later. But I think, like you said, Sean, it's going to be interesting to see chemistry versus superstar players. These are, like you said, these are national team players who are also, I don't want to call ball dominant or ball hogs, but they need the ball to shine. So I don't see it being as close as we've discussed. I think the chemistry element of what the Suns have right now should be enough to get it over the line by 10 to 15. 15, just so we keep it respectable. I don't see it being that close. And I think I wanted to ask, you guys as players, how does it work? How does it affect your chemistry when these type of caliber of athletes come into your team and you've established a rhythm? Do you slot them in and try and include them, or is there a lot of like, what happens now? And I know you guys can't really answer, but I really would appreciate it.
Well, I can answer, at least from our perspective, based on the addition that the rumors are saying we've added. I mean,
hope you guys don't get fired.
Keeping his cards close to his chest. He's keeping his cards close to his chest.
If Chief is joining us, he's been playing with the Tshwane Suns since 2017. He was captain last year when the Tshwane Suns won. So it's not like he's far removed from the process. In fact, he played a very crucial role in the turnaround of the franchise, getting it back to obviously winning ways. So slotting him in is the easiest thing, and he's played with almost everybody on that team already for multiple years prior to that. That's not the problem here. The problem, I think, is going to be on the side of Mpumalanga Rhinos, because you've seen them slip up a few games. Like, they lost to Limpopo Pride this year was just, no one expected it. They were up 15 at halftime, and then they end up losing by 5 or 6. So those are not things you expect. But at the same time, also they beat the Western Cape Mountaineers, which many people said they were not going to do. So the addition of these two players comes down to ultimately coaching. Now, the other thing they have is they're a Mpumalanga-based team. They've got obviously a lot of players in Mpumalanga. They're bringing in a player from KZN. They've got some Gauteng players. Do they have enough time to build that chemistry for them to really work? Yeah. How many practice sessions will they have? will they have competitive enough games for what they're about to experience on the weekend? You know, that obviously counts for a lot. And I think based on what I've seen, at least, the addition that the Tshwane Suns are supposedly bringing is much easier to slot in compared to what the Mpumalanga Rhinos are supposedly bringing. And also, sorry, just not to knock on any coach, but Coach Clemcock, that's my guy. You know, I know I just trust that he's got it to slot any player in.
Tethering on the
and just for people watching the show, if there's any confusion, the reason why players have been allowed to be added to rosters is because we've got the World Student Games coming up, and some of the players that are going to be representing South Africa at the World Student Games are on BNL rosters. So the BNL teams that have players going to the World Student Games have been afforded the opportunity to add players to their roster. And I think, honestly, just an overall look, adding Kagiso Mwechana, Letshogonolo Tholo, Thabo Sithole is only going to add to the value of the game. If ever there was a player that doesn't need time to gel into playing because he's just a stop and go, run and gun kind of player, it's Letshogonolo Tholo and Thabo Sithole. You know, just give him the ball, cut, spot up. You know, we sometimes I think we overcomplicate the game. You know, I don't think these guys are going to struggle, but I still think Tshwane Suns is going to come out with the victory. But I think Mpumalanga Rhinos does get better. They lose a very good shooter in Kwanzi Kumete, but then they get two premier guards in Letshogonolo Tholo and Thabo Sithole. That's at least my analogy and analysis of that situation. But our other semi-final is Cape Town Tigers versus Marlins. I don't know if Shaz wants to drive that one because he's burnt thirsty for this one.
Here's my thing. That Marlins team is not a joke. Look, we all expect the Tigers to win because of, their standing in holistically in SA ball. But I think it's going to be tighter. Everybody wants to beat the Tigers because, they are the equivalent of the Lakers of this thing. But I think it's going to be a tight game. It's not going to be a blowout. We've seen, the Tigers blowing out teams at massive scores. Massive scores. Before I even continue my analysis, when I say massive, guys, one of the analysts on the show, there was about a minute left on the court, and he dropped the ball. He said, guys, we can't have this happening anymore. I hope there is a way that I could bring that clip in. I texted him. I said, bro, I know they're down 70 points, but finish the game of basket. They gotta figure it out. Basketball. So going back to the Marlins, I think it's gonna be closer. There's always something about a Marlins team that is well gelled, and always under, they always rated very lowly, but they always shock every time. Every year they get better, and they've got a lot of young players who are incredibly good at this. So I think if Tigers, I expect the Tigers to win. That team hasn't really changed. They've got a lot of chemistry together. But just watch out. I think it might be one of those semifinals where we're like, and then now, why is it only this score with a minute left? Or I think it's going to be a lot tighter than people think it's going to be.
I think, first of all, the one good thing that the Marlins have is the coach they have. Craig Gilchrist is a brilliant coach. And people might not agree with me because of the final score of the game, but there were many instances in the game where Cape Town Tigers played against the Limpopo Pride, especially in the beginning, where they exposed certain loopholes in the Cape Town Tigers game, and everybody's watching the Cape Town Tigers because they are the team to beat. Having had the back-to-back BNL playoff pedigree, so their scouting report is going to be massive. First of all, pages on pages, film on film, everything. But what the KwaZulu Marlins bring is a Benjamin Myberg, for example, who we know hit a clutch shot back in Egypt last year when the Tigers needed to go through. They're bringing in Skumbuzo, who was also part of the team that qualified for the Cape Town Tigers team that qualified. And what a lot of these players always have when you're playing against a team you used to play for, like you mentioned, Modiegi as well, is it's like a chip on your shoulder, basically to say, look, I'm not with you guys anymore. I deserve to have been there. I deserve to have been this player or that player. So I'm going to show you guys everything I have. And I think the Marlins guys are going to bring that. They're also very well oiled. And one thing I know that they definitely have is chemistry. The issues we have here of load shedding, they don't exactly experience that there because they're training at like a Kearsley college where, you know, solar panels, forever have electricity. Hey, I mean, you know, they have all those things. And then they have a coach who's also a coach who coached a lot of these guys from the time they were in high school to where they are now. You know, look at the captain, Bandile Ntele. He was coached by Craig Gilchrist as a high school player, as a pro player, you know. So they have that connection already where the scouting report, what the coach wants from the players exists. The chemistry, the respect, just them as a team exists already. And they have a point to prove, a serious point to prove. Look, I'm not going to say we underestimated them when you played them, but we did our scouting report only to find out that they had that and more that we didn't exactly see. And then when the occasion is high, these guys will always rise to the occasion. So it's going to be a very good game, even though, you know, we still expect the Cape Town Tigers to go through. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be a walk in the park or anything. It's going to be a game that's going to shock a lot of us. So, yeah, but then the Cape Town Tigers as well. I mean, Slipper was talking about
you were shook. You were shook against the Marlins. It was a bit close.
It was, you know, I'm going to talk about their scouting report. They've taken away our shooting guard, Dylan Woodbred, who can obviously hurt you, you know. They've got Kwazulu-Natal Sibanyoni, who, for me, I mean, we're having a conversation about who are the top South African players. And if you do not mention that guy, you know, then you're lying straight through your teeth, like you're just lying. Because Kwazulu-Natal Sibanyoni he's a great player, force to be reckoned with, and just his overall growth, you know. He's been a BNL champion, he's been a BNL MVP, so, and now it's even because he's been part of a system where he's continuously played at the highest level against better players, and so you don't expect him to come out, you know, without doing anything. And then there's another guy also who I call Never Change, you know, because he just never changes. You know, people might not know this, but Slipper got that nickname from me. I was watching a JBL game when they're still playing for Jersey Nuggets. There was at least 16 seconds on the shot clock. He was at the logo, the team was still setting up, and he just pulled up. You know, and all you heard in the crowd was "Never change," and that has stuck with him. You know, they've got obviously the addition of Akeem Springs, he's very strong. He picks his moments. He knows when to accelerate the game, when to slow the game down. Leave him open on the three-point line, and you're going to pay for it. You know, Sita Conte, who's also very athletic. They've got all these guys, and I know they've been riddled with some injuries, like Lebogang Mofokeng, you know, Somusa Mtembu, who have been injured. But I mean, they seem to be coming back into it. So that game is going to be quite deep. And I mean, I'm not going to deny that I do watch tape, and I'm also doing my scouting report. But you know, I want to see what the Marlins have to give to them. Maybe, I mean, obviously I'm playing to win, but maybe then I'll also know a few more things leading up to the finals.
I mean, I look at the Marlins team, right? And if there's ever a team that I never sleep on, it's the KZN team, because those guys are always fundamentally sound. They're always well coached. They've got Busiso Cele Mabulala, who can turn any game on its head. I mean, that's for me the one guy that you need to look out for 40 minutes. Bandile Ntele is someone that I think is also coming back into his own. You know, he got a little bit out of shape. He worked his way back into shape. He's now a veteran. Sounds so weird because we were all young bucks not so long ago. But he is a veteran, and his team will be looking to him, Ben Mayberg, Tembu for the leadership that's needed to overcome a playoff game. But I think the X factors of this Marlins team are in the guys that you don't really have a lot of film of, because we haven't seen much of them at a higher level. I'm talking about guys like Spiso Kininda, Storm Gilchrist, maybe not so much Guava and Tombela, but they're guys that you're like, okay, like, let's see what he does. And he surprises you, you know, and he's got 18 points and 7 rebounds, and you're like, okay, we need to stop this guy somehow. So it's a mixed bag, and obviously there's the X's and O's of Craig Gilchrist that can throw a spanner in the works that you're not anticipating. So with KZN Marlins, you always have to be aware. You always have to be alert. When I used to play for Soweto Panthers, when we play against Marlins, Coach Frank Bellen used to say, of all the teams in the BNL, this is the best team to play against because it's basketball. Everybody else, athleticism, ability. With the Marlins team that's coached by Craig Gilchrist, it's going to be X's and O's. It's going to be, can you anticipate the screens, work over the screens? How are they going to defend us? Are they going to sit in the zone? Are they going to sit in the man? Are we going to be able to exploit mismatches? Will there be mismatches on the floor? It's going to be an interesting game. It's one game that I will never sleep on.
I think for me, the biggest concern I have about the Tigers is because you've been blowing these people out defensively. Are you going to be locked in? I think that is always, going into a game like this where it's going to be tighter. We saw how the Marlins played against the Suns. And it's going to be a tight game, and a lot of people are going to be shocked, and a lot of people are going to dig in defensively. I hope the Tigers are able to switch on defensively because the blowout, I just don't know. I hope they're in. I hope they're up for it because they want you. There's a Durban team. They want the KZN team really want you guys, and they play for their coach. He is that star in that team, which is the wildest thing. He is like living legend in SA ball. They said, "Yo, man, we locked it into whatever you want to do. We done whatever you want to do." There's no egos. It's the wildest thing about the Marlins team. They always want to play for Craig. That's the wildest thing.
Also, you look at it I know you mentioned Storm Gilchrist. Can you just acknowledge the fact that this kid is 17, I think, or 18? And he's 18, holding his own at this level, when we played against him, he got me fouled up, and Jesus. I'll be honest with you. I may look at the officiating and question them a bit, but I got to give him his props. This kid is really, really strong. There aren't many players I come up against where I feel that they're strong, and he's one of them. Despite him being that strong, his footwork, and he also stretches the floor. I'm giving you a scouting report. He can shoot it left and right, hook shots, everything. You can tell he was coached by his dad, and he's still being coached by his dad. All the footwork, everything. He knows how to work his way around the key. But then one other thing we're also looking at, over and above it just being a Marlins and Cape Town Tigers matchup, is a coaching matchup also. Craig Gilchrist was the previous national team head coach, and now it's Flush Ngwenya who's coaching the Cape Town Tigers. And they still have to work together because Craig is still Flush's assistant coach in the national team. So it's going to be a battle of who is the better X and O here, who is this. But I'm just excited to see the brains behind that, even if you don't look at the athleticism or anything else before that. And you mentioned Mabulala. He is probably one of the most exciting players to watch. Very tough player to be playing against because he's so unpredictable. You can do your scouting reports on him, and then he's going to do a step back to the right and then shoot off balance or have that crossover, in and out, cross shoot. You just never know what you're going to get. And I'm glad we're not playing him. I'm glad we're not playing him. But you mentioned Bandile Ntele. The thing is that heart he's got, even when they know they don't have a big lineup, they somehow find a way to stay in a man or a zone that just discourages you from even exploiting the mismatches you have because they seem to have 7 players on the court, at any given moment, especially defensively. And credit to Bandile for that. I think Tigers, the one advantage that I'm going to point out that the Tigers have is the size and athleticism. That Cape Town Tigers lineup is massive, and that's going to play in your favor, Slipper, when you play against the Marlins. I'm just excited to see it because there was also a lot of back chatting. When the Suns played the Marlins last year, Dylan Woodbray got into the bed with Bandile Ntele, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens this time when they match up and Dylan is on another team, So I'm just here to watch, man. And finals.
No, bro, you're not here to watch. You've got Mpumalanga Rhinos just before us. What are you talking about? You're not here to watch, bro.
No, I'm doing my scouting report. If you see me in the bleachers in the notepad, just know.
But guys, ultimately, the final we want, right?
Yeah, the people want Cape Town Tigers versus Tshwane Suns, and it would be nice because it's the two teams that are undefeated in the regular season in the group phases. That would be the ideal matchup. But this is basketball, man. Mpumalanga Rhinos and KwaZulu-Natal don't care what happened in the group stages. They also want to go to the final too.
Yeah, please, guys.
I know what I want. I know the matchup I want.
Tell me what matchup you want, Shine.
I obviously want the Cape Town Tigers because imagine if the Marlins beat Cape Town Tigers, then they're even a bigger threat to watch out for. So I know the team I want to play against, so I want them.
Yeah. Okay.
And who do you think is going to be MVP for the Tigers game? Because I've seen Akeem Springs been collecting them.
Oof, guys, that's a baller.
I think Akeem Springs will take maybe Natisi Banyoni actually. I don't want to say why. I don't want to say why.
But you have a hunch.
Why, Shine?
Why, Shine?
Because he's definitely going to have the mismatch, number one. And I think because I wouldn't say he's had a quiet season, he's had a quieter season, he might be overlooked in the scouting report,
A mismatch on who?
That's crazy.
Because remember, the Marlins only have one true big man, which is Storm. And chances are he'll be on Peter Prinsloo. And we know Peter plays on the perimeter, so he's going to have him drawn out. And I mean, I can tell the way you're smiling, Slepper, that I'm onto something. And then
you're onto it, but you're not hitting it on the head. You're not hitting it on the head.
Maybe Princely shock us and decides to act his size and go down low and dunk it on somebody instead of. It's all I want is Peter Princely to be his size and take a guy down low and just stop shooting his jump shot. I hate it.
My boy's been going to work in the low block, bro. He's been going to work in the low block.
I've seen more of it,
yeah.
But I think if the Tigers win, it's definitely, I think, Sibanyoni. But if the Marlins win, it's going to be no one we expect. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
If the Marlins win, I don't want to flirt with that idea. Tshwane Suns, Mpumalanga Rhinos, who's MVP?
I'll give it to my boy Shine. I got you, bro.
You got Shine?
I got Shine. I got Shine. Oh, close number to my boy Simba. That's all.
I don't know, man. But there's something about Simba coming alive in the playoffs. It might just be him. Hit you with 5 threes, and then before you know it, is floating with 20 points already. So, yeah. But if anything, if we look at this season, then I'm inclined to agree with Shaz.
All right.
Wait not to say your own name.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your analysis. We kept it very local today, and I mean, we end the show on a sad note. Earlier on this week, we learned of the passing of Coach Leta Zulu, who's from Esikhaweni in KwaZulu-Natal. A very, very, very gentleman, a very good coach, a person that spent a lot of time developing basketball in Esikhaweni, in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal, in South Africa. He's supposed to be leaving with the students' national team to go to China. Unfortunately, he won't be able to make that trip. But on behalf of Fast Break, we want to send our deepest condolences to his family, to Durban, to KZN, and to just the whole South African basketball. It's a very emotional one to come to terms with, knowing very well the role he played. And one thing I say about legends is that they never die. They live on in stories and in folklore. And I'm pretty sure that all the players, the thousands and thousands of players who Coach Leta has coached, whose lives he has touched, will forever be grateful for the lessons that they've learned from him. So, Ulale Ngokolo, Coach, thank you for all the years you've given to basketball.
That's it from us for this episode. Thanks for watching, listening, and being part of the conversation. Don't keep it to yourself though. Share it with your friends and family, and let's all engage on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle is @FastBreakSA on all platforms. To keep up with our latest episodes, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you again on the next episode.